This Halloween, party with your favorite monsters during Halloween Horror Nights.
Welcome into the fog, everybody. Appreciate you coming over here to hang out with old Wolfman Rob here in the fog as we talk about all things Halloween Horror Nights on this very show. Going to be reminiscing about a special character this week as well. Some updates, man. Got some updates to talk about and rumors to go over as well. So again, appreciate you coming over here to hang out with me, man. I was inspired for this week's episode of Reminiscing in the Fog of Into the Fog to look at the history of the Bride of Frankenstein. Reason being, two reasons. One, I had the honor of being able to go to the annual pass holder preview of Epic Universe, brand new theme park for Universal Orlando, where they do have the Dark Universe, and I have a meet and greet with the Bride of Frankenstein over there, which I got to do, which was awesome. I did a review episode of that. Please go check that out. And then, plus, as of this week of the recording of this episode, the Bride has turned 90 years old. The first film came out in 1935, 90 years ago, if you do the math, as it is 2025 now. So I thought, hey, let's look into the history of the Bride on this week's edition of Into the Fog, man. But before we get there, couple updates to go over with. Nothing officially announced or anything like that. No new tickets or anything out. We're still waiting for that. Probably going to be waiting for a while for that. But there is some kind of updates going on, especially over there in Hollywood, where they have two tents up now, man. Seeing a couple of videos and vlogs of other vloggers that I watch, and they do the studio tour back there, and they've noticed that one of the HHN tents has become up back there, so they're starting to work there. And then I saw a post on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, that another tent has gone up. I think it was beside Men in Black or the Mummy, one of the two. But I don't know if they have Men in Black. There's another tent up there. I don't know. I've seen that. So they've got two tents from what I can understand and what I've seen so far. Haven't heard anything about Orlando, about their warehouses or any work going on around there, or any of the tents or anything like that going on. Again, of course, Orlando very busy with Epic Universe stuff at the moment, but fun stuff is progression, right? Things are progressing forward. We already know that they have their stories and all the stuff that they're working on, and now we know we got two tents up in Hollywood. I'm sure there's stuff going on in Orlando they just haven't talked about yet, but it's exciting, man. Like, get ready, get amped, get up and freaking excited, because obviously HHN is on the way, and now things are starting to progress and moving forward with, the two tents up over there in Hollywood, man. Can't wait to see what Orlando's got going on, Singapore, Japan, what they end up announcing and all that stuff, man. Can't wait for that. A couple rumors have started circulating. There is another spec map out. I want to say it's from Hollowed Out Horror, I believe is their name. Sorry if I mess it up. Again, if you're new to the show, I don't look at spec maps. I don't pay a ton of attention to them. I see when the post comes out about it, then I just go away from it because I don't care about spec maps. I look at them as spoilers and all that stuff. Other people have fun with them all you want. It's perfectly fine. No problem with that. Me personally, don't really care for them. Just because I don't want spoilers. I love the announcements and seeing all that stuff. But some rumors have been going around. I don't know if they're associated with the spec maps or not, but there's a rumor of Friday the 13th being one of the IPs at this year's event, which is cool. Friday the 13th is an iconic slasher franchise, and it would be cool to live in that world and play in that world before. And it's not the first time we've seen Friday the 13th or even Jason Voorhees associated with Halloween Horror Nights. And I'll do a history of that. This has piqued my interest in looking into the history of Friday the 13th. And again, the character of Jason Voorhees at Halloween Horror Nights. I know they've done Freddy vs. Jason. I know they've had Jason in other aspects and Friday the 13th in other aspects at the event as well, other than just Freddy vs. Jason. So it'd be cool to dive into all that stuff. I don't know personally how I feel about it. Like, obviously, it'd be cool to see and experience all that. But at the same time, I know they're working on the show, the series for Peacock, Crystal Lake, which is like a prequel series or whatever. And I know they're working on that, and it's slated to release next year. I would assume sometime around like August or September, maybe even summery because of summer camp and all that. But I think it would be better fitting for next year for it to release as an IP, because again, it's going to be a Peacock show. NBC is the owners of Universal Studios, so NBC, Peacock, Halloween Horror Nights, it all seems to fit very well, and I think it would be probably better for next year's event, especially next year being like an anniversary event and all that stuff, having big IPs associated with it as well is cool. If it is here this year, that is really awesome. It'd be fun again. Iconic slasher franchise. Be cool to live in that world and everything. I haven't experienced the Jason house or Friday the 13th house or anything like that, but I would be leaning more towards it being at next year's event as opposed to this year's event, but I could be wrong. Who knows? I don't know everything, but that's just my thoughts on it. But cool rumor there. Other rumor is that the iconic Mel's Drive-In, which gets turned into Mel's Die-In during Halloween Horror Nights, there is a rumor that it could be its own scare zone at this year's event, which I love. I love that idea a lot. That's one of the main things we always look for, I think, as Halloween Horror Nights fans when we go there, especially if you've been going for years and years and years and like you're super fan of the event. Like you look for that thing. It's like, ooh, look, it says Die-In. And you get really excited about that. And then last year, man, they released merch for Mel's Die-In, which was so cool. It was really awesome to see. It's like, well, I had to get that as a Universal Annual Pass holder shirt that I do have. Love that shirt. It's awesome. It's just black with the pink on it and all that stuff. Just so cool. Perfection of a shirt there. And that's such a cool idea. I think they had like aprons and stuff as well. And I love that idea, and I love the idea of it being a scare zone there. It has been associated with scare zones again in the past. Maybe I'll do a reminiscing in the fog of the history of that. Not a ton of it, um, but it has been associated with a scare zone before, and it's like they've had scare zones around it and all that stuff. So that'd be cool, man. Like I'm into that idea. Like they have a 50s theme, kind of scare zone would be cool. I know they did Vamp 55 back in the day, which a lot of people really loved. And then last year, or get my years mixed up, but I believe it was last year we had Vamp 65 or something like that, where we did basically Woodstock, basically is what it was. Um, which was cool. Like, I mean, those retro kind of vibes, just thinking about that and just having like this retro horror vibe and the retro horror music and all that stuff or retro music going on, like perfectly speaks to this guy's soul, man. So like I would be 100% invested and interested in that for sure. And again, give me more merch, man, because that's unbelievably fun idea for a house, man. So that's what's going on right now. Some updates. A couple of tents have gone up over in Hollywood, and then those are the rumors that I have seen. If you're into spec maps, there is another one out there for you to check out if you're interested in checking those out. I've also, real quick before we get into reminiscing in the fog, I've seen some post on X, and again, I don't know if this is associated with the spec map or not, but there's also a rumor of Poltergeist returning, which I'm all for. Like, I absolutely love that house. Poltergeist was from the first year of the event that I went to, and I love that house. Like, that's gonna always be top IP house for me. Like, it's one of the all-time favorite houses for me. Maybe just in like all around, like it's all-time favorite IP house. It's up there. It's definitely top five, top two, probably all-time favorite IP houses, and then I mean, just of the event in general. It was such a good house and such a cool vibe. Like, and that's something I think I can see with the amount of money that Universal has put into the new theme park, and they're creating a Fast and the Furious roller coaster over there in Hollywood, and there's just all these things they're creating and putting their money into. You've got the Horrors Unleashed thing in Las Vegas. You've got the theme park in Texas. I could see them probably pulling out like other IPs that they've used before because they probably still have all of these props in like a warehouse somewhere. So it's a little bit easier for them to probably do that. So I would not be surprised to see something like a Poltergeist return or like an IP we've hung out with before. Like it wouldn't be too shocking and all that stuff. But I just wanted to throw that in here real quick before we got into the reminiscing in the fog portion of this episode because I did see Poltergeist getting mentioned a couple times, and again, I'm all for that. I absolutely loved that house. If they want to bring that back, more power to it. I would assume it's the first movie again. That you probably could do the second one. That freaking old guy's creepy as crap. But there's you're not gonna get any hesitance from me or anything like that, man. So there you go, man. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into reminiscing in the fog with the Bride of Frankenstein's history at Halloween Horror Nights. Now, uh, the Bride, much like the majority of the Universal monsters themselves, have been mostly showcased together at the event of Halloween Horror Nights, like group houses, Universal Monsters house, right? Universal Monsters this house, Universal Monsters that house. Like that's normally where you see all of them kind of coincide and all that stuff, where you see the majority of the characters. I want to show this real quick because I was looking at it while I was talking. I got my Bride of Frankenstein Funko, of course. Love the Bride of Frankenstein. Great character, great character meet and greets and all that stuff. Every time I see her, it's just fantastic, right? Um, so that's kind of where we start. So the history with the Bride of Frankenstein, I have to pull up my notes because of the years and all that stuff. But it starts, of course, with the beginning of Halloween Horror Nights. Before it was even called Halloween Horror Nights, back when it was called Fright Nights, was the first time we got an appearance of the bride at the event itself. Um, we'll see her throughout the years again, but it does take a while to get back to her. So in Orlando, we got her at Fright Nights, then not for a while until 2004 returns with Horror in Wax, and then 2029 or 2029 that hasn't even happened yet. 2009 we get Frankenstein's Creation of the Damned, so she's in that as well. And then 2012, both coasts have the Bride of Frankenstein at the event with Universal's House of Horrors in Orlando. And then in Hollywood, you have Universal Monsters Remix. Now, the bride will not return for a couple years in Orlando, but is in Hollywood again the next year in 2013 with Universal Monsters Remix, The Resurrection. And then we go back to Orlando where we see the bride return in 2015 with Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters in Mayhem, as well as All Night Die-In double feature, which I believe was going back to the Mills Die-In and all this stuff, All Night Die-In was probably that as well. Now that I think about it, no, it was not. It was not at the Mills, but it does sound like something that took place in front of Mills before. With I was the year with Rip from the Silver Screen. They did like a movie thing around Mills. Then, sorry, but the Bride was there in 2015 twice, and then again gone for a couple years. The Bride would return in Hollywood in 2018 with Universal Monsters music by Slash, baby. Love that music. I'm so happy that that music is available on. I use YouTube Music and that it's under Slash's profile and all that stuff that you be able to just listen to that. And it gets updated on the regular with like the Universal Monsters house and other houses or zones he's worked on at the event. Absolutely love that. If you didn't know that, quick tip on you, Slashes, just look up Universal Monsters Slash and it'll probably bring the album up for you. Again, I use YouTube Music, but I am assuming if it's on there, it's probably on like Spotify and everything else that you use. So 2018, you get the Bride there. The Bride returns in Orlando in 2019 with the Universal Monsters. So this basically the same house from 2018, but Orlando's version, right? Universal Monsters changed up, of course. You changed it up on both sides. In 2019, over in Hollywood, the Bride was seen in Universal Monsters Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and then um, the Bride in 2019 was also part of the Halloween Marathon of Mayhem. This was the water show. We'll talk about this eventually on Reminiscing Fog as well, because they've had some really cool water shows. One, not so much, but that's something we could talk about at another time. But the character was seen there. The character also in 2019 was seen for the media in 2019, and Halloween Horror Nights Orlando Scare Actor Dining Experience for 2019 as well. The character was seen. So the character was big in 2019 for Orlando. 2020 and 2021 we see the bride. So the bride has stayed around, right? So 28 to 20 in Orlando and in Hollywood, we've seen the bride stay for the next couple of years here. So 2019, we just talked about all those. We have the unfortunate event of 2020. Hollywood does not have a horror nights that year, but we do have the Halloween Screamtacular or whatever the heck it was called, Halloween experience in 2020, where the Bride of Frankenstein, Universal Monsters, the Bride of Frankenstein lives, is the house, one of the three houses available. Two, and then they added the Beetlejuice house at the very end of that experience. But it was like one of the main houses, the big feature house. It was the IP house, right? 2020, I do remember going to see that, and we're going to do a walkthrough of this house as well. Forgot to mention that earlier, but we will do a walkthrough of this house because I wanted to do this one because this is the bride's house, right? Again, mentioned before, and as we're talking about here, she's shown up in like other houses, but it's all been like group houses or just like a quick reference or something like that. This is her house. So I wanted to do the walkthrough of that one. So 2020 is where it debuts. It comes back the next year in 2021 and is in Hollywood as well. Universal Monsters, The Bride of Frankenstein lives. The maze is different on each coast. And I'm glad they do that to give you different experience, especially for those people who are able to do both coast and go back and forth on, Hollywood and Orlando about seeing the houses. The maze in Hollywood is different from Orlando's in the sense that it is following the bride's journey to becoming the doctor and all that stuff. Let's see, 2019, the character is also seen in Japan, HHN Japan, in something known as Monster Zone. So, the bride has become a big deal now. The bride is all over the place. 2019, I had to go back there. 2021, Singapore has Universal Monsters Scream Alley, where the bride was seen as well. Also in Orlando, 2022, the bride is seen in well, before we do that, let's talk about Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein Lives real quick. So, the Bride of Frankenstein Lives story goes as we belong dead. The last words of Frankenstein's monster when his bride rejected him. Now she'll stop at nothing to bring him back. This time, the Bride of Frankenstein is stepping out of the shadows and taking her fate into her own bloody hands. The mate will have her monster, and the monster his mate. Enter the tower ruins where Frankenstein's monster pulled the lever to bring down the walls and destroy him and his bride. Recoil in horror as she tries to bring him back at any cost, honing her diabolical genius, one harvested body part at a time. Don't get caught between her and the brides of Dracula, who she captures and drains in hopes of reanimating her love. So that is the idea. Again, we'll be doing the walkthrough of that one. 2022, the character in Orlando is part of the Dead Coconut Club as a photo op. Let's see, 2022, the character is in Japan for Universal Monsters Legends of Fear, as well as Murderous Monsters, again in Japan. The character has not been seen in Japan or Singapore since the previous mentions. Character is not in Hollywood in 2022. Now, the photo op, I do have a photo of. Let's pull this up. Booyah, right there. There's my goofy face in the chair. And then you had the bride and Frankenstein's monster right there in wedding gear. And then this is the house, and then me and the electric chair, which, fun fact, that electric chair was from the Monsters Cafe that used to reside in Universal Orlando Studio sides. That is, of course, now gone. Unfortunately, but there is a new land of Dark Universe with a restaurant for you to check out and all that stuff. But that was the photo up there. I thought I'd show that as well. And then let's see, history wise, again, the character in Hollywood is back with Halloween Horror Nights 2023 was a roaming character. And then 2024 on both coasts, we have Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines, last year's event. So the monster of the bride has shown up several times throughout, of course, the history of Halloween Horror Nights, but has been seemingly like a bigger character the last couple of years, especially the late 2000s, 2018, 2019, all that stuff, up to, of course, being a character in one of the houses next year. I without a doubt expect the bride to be shown again in some way, shape, or form. We don't know what the Universal Monsters house will be this year, even if they have one or not. But if you need your bride fix, she is there in the Dark Universe for you to hang out, as well as Frankenstein's monsters and all the other glorious Universal monsters that you can bump into there, and the incredible rides they have in that land. When Epic Universe opens May 22nd of this year, but that is the bride's history at Halloween Horror Nights. Without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the walkthrough of this house. Again, I wanted to pick the Bride of Frankenstein's live house because this is her house, man. So without further ado, let's go and check this out. This is from UO Fan. I feel like we watched a little good bit of their videos because they do a good job filming the videos, and we appreciate it, man. So here we go. Now, I really love this to the house, looking through this castle walls, if you will, to see the ending of the Bride of Frankenstein film where the castle is coming to rubbles, and then coming out of this, and then seeing this right in front of you, like the continuation, making a sequel. Hearing the bride's just gripping roar of pain and agony as you see the Frankenstein's monster crushed in the rubble there. And we go in here, and it's really cool that they decided to make a sequel house off of a movie and all that stuff. Like that's the coolness, that's the creativity we're looking for, man. Of course, doing everything she can to get her mate back here. Up, Brides of Dracula. Oh, hey. I'll bring you back to life. Jeez, she's got these freaking. I would love to see this movie, man. This is a movie I want to see. And this is the one, the newer one. This isn't 2020. This is HHN 30, where the plexiglass wasn't as big a deal then. You could just look at the theming, so incredible, so awesome. Like just reliving this again is just, God, what an amazing job they did with this house. Oh yeah, scare. There's some plexiglass there, of course, but it was still around at that point, but not as much as 2020, from what I remember. Yep, I hear him. The Gill Man is in one of these if they don't go too fast. Yes, right there. There's the Gill Man. She even got the creature. Wow. And then strobing lights, sorry. Warning for strobing lights. This is part of the Halloween Horror Nights houses. I love freaking vampires, dude. Vampires are so freaking cool. Ah, she's successful. The monster is alive. He's got some wicked hair going on there. But the monster seems to be back. There's the monster. There you go. Scream. Great scream. All right, there you go. Again, from you, O fan. That was awesome. Thank you for that video. Let's get out of here. Oh my gosh. And back up a little bit. We don't need to see me that close, as I say every single time. There we go, man. Um, Great house. Like absolutely love that house. That's a house again I'm gonna look back on. I have some questions about it because she rejected him in that movie, and then she's distraught here trying to get her mate back. I guess she realized her wrongs and all that stuff is where you go from there. But other than that, the house is awesome. Love the idea of doing a sequel house to a movie like that. That's a great amount of creativity. I want to see that movie now. That's probably won't ever be made, but that's would be awesomely incredible. And that's I think where we need to lean into when we go into the Universal Monster stuff for these movies. But overall, the bride has been awesome. The bride has been an awesome character throughout the history of horror and the history of Halloween Horror Nights, man. So let me know in the comments your history with the bride, if you've done some of the photo ops and all that stuff, if you're excited for Dark Universe. I know you are. But let me know in the comments if you experienced that house, what your thoughts on that house is, and just the bride in general as a character. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Into the Fog with Wolfman Rob. Appreciate you hanging out with me as always. Do me a favor real quick, hit that like, subscribe, share, and we'll be talking about more stuff on next episode, man. Until then, stay awesome. Keep living that scary, scary stuff. Keep watching horror movies and supporting horror. And then we'll talk in the fog